Welcome to the exhibition, A Middle-earth Traveller. This drawing was done in 1890 by my mother's mother. So these are all pictures about growing up in Canada. And the haircuts from the 1970s. It's terrible. And this was done for the Game of Thrones calendar that's coming out in about 10 days. This is probably the oldest painting in the, one of the oldest in the exhibition, 1979, when I was in art school. So I'm very, very proud to have actually two books. Oh, these are amazing, actually. I love these. Really, really lovely drawings. I mean, I love the ones by the children, but I also love these. They're really beautifully done. And this is really what exhibitions are all about. It's, you know, communicating and sharing. He talks too much. Here we are on the top floor, the final part of the show, and here we are primarily in the universe of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So most of these illustrations were done for some for book covers, some for board games, some for calendars. There's quite a variety. Are a few pictures of Gandalf. This painting unfortunately was stolen several years ago, so this is a reproduction. And it's also the painting that was a source of inspiration for Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings movies. So poor Sir Ian McKellen had to wear that hat all the time, and he hated it. He really didn't like that hat very much at all. And I'm absolutely delighted up until now, and I truly think this one is number one. Good question. I never really think about color. It just happens the way I think it eventually should. I think color is something that needs to sort itself out. So I never really choose a color. Certainly not consciously. There are colors that I don't use very well. I don't really care for very bright colors. I find them uncomfortable to use. But then it depends. But I do like deep, intense colors. Yeah, no. No, not at all. I do a lot of digital work. I'm even learning 3D at my advanced age. And I think it's just a tool. And you need to choose the best tool for the particular job. There's a very famous quote about the suspension of disbelief. It means you forget it's not true. So I think convincing fantasy needs to be credible. It needs to help you forget that it's not real during the time that you're engaged with it. So that means that there's a lot of history involved. A lot of history involved, but not just history. I mean, we spend a lot of time in museums, reading books, you know, traveling, looking at things, taking photos. And I really like costume and architecture, and all of those things I think are fabulous. No, the Amazon series is going to be very respectful of the two trilogies that were done by Peter. Yeah, but not, well, yes and no. Things have to happen by themselves. So you're there to help them happen. But they need a bit of freedom to happen. So if you're thinking too hard, it's very difficult. So it's a question of balance between intuition and intellect, imagination and, logic. I mean, I often get questions about artist's block, when people can't, imagination doesn't work. And they'll be sitting there with a piece of paper and staring at it, and nothing happens. And I always try and tell them that piece of paper is not really a piece of paper. It's a window to a three-dimensional infinite space into which you can reach with your pencil and discover what's there. And if you approach it like that it is literally infinite, then you can see the images appear. There are three things involved. There's the intent of the author, there's the idea that people have, a collective idea, and then there's your own inspiration. And somewhere between those three, there is a place where the images can feel right.